All right, welcome in a Monday edition of Philly Voice SportsBets. Devin Katie is the smartest of the three of us, clearly, as she's on a beach somewhere, hanging out, enjoying the final stretch of summer, Harry, before we all hit the doldrums of fall, winter. It's kind of been put together. But college football, the NFL, I don't mind being in some bunker with 6 feet of snow if I can sit there and watch 12 hours of football on any level.
Right. Well, I was so starved for football action this weekend, Eytan. I actually caught myself watching Giants-Jets preseason game week 3 yesterday afternoon with the likes of Mike White at quarterback up against Joe Flacco. That's how desperate I was.
Wait a second. What time was that game on yesterday?
It was actually no, it was Davis Webb was the Giants quarterback.
Okay,
and he was up against Flacco and Mike White. We're going back and forth with the Jets. That was a 1:00 start, I believe, on the NFL Network. And I actually watched it all the way through the end of the first half.
Wait a second. Rory McIlroy, Sungjae Im, embarking on what could be one of the most monumental comebacks based on how the Tour Championship is even set up. It is your world that is screaming at you. Sit down and watch this. And you went to preseason. Tell me at least there was some sort of betting strategy or studying you were doing on the Giants or something.
Well, studying, yeah. I wanted to get somewhat of a look at the New York Football Giants, but no, I had the golf on DVR, and that really didn't get going until later in the afternoon when those guys, get to the back nine. And I watched. Believe me, I was dialed in from about the 7th or 8th hole on with Rory and Scheffler. That was amazing theater yesterday, and what a comeback by Rory McIlroy. You could just see the weight of the world was on Scotty Scheffler's back after he made like his second bogey on the front nine. He could feel it, man. And it just goes to show you what pressure can do in that sport. It was amazing.
It was one of the most, and look, we've all seen Tiger Woods grow up from child to champion, and those who are older have seen Jack play and some even special golfers in between. But, and I don't want to just be capture the moment and be a slave to the moment, they say, right, is the term or whatever.
Right.
But, I mean, my goodness, man, that was one of the most, because of the game itself. Now, my 30-1 Sungjae Im ticket, so you can understand, I'm sitting there at the edge of my seat, and I'm not worried about Scotty. Right. I know where Scotty, I'm worried about Rory, because he's done this before. He was the first guy since the change of rules right away to come in and from back. So I was just shocked. I didn't want to bring it up to recap as much as I was just shocked that, my God, Harry, you were watching football instead of that. But
I watched the first half of that football game, and hopefully Devin is spending some of her winnings on that big money line play with the Northwestern Wildcats on Saturday afternoon. How about that football game in Ireland? We had all those crazy Nebraska fans, take the trip across the pond to see their beloved Cornhuskers, only to have Scott Frost with an 11-point lead go for an onside kick and totally change the momentum of that football game in the second half. It was amazing. Man. There is no bigger sport that goes on momentum more than college football.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to that extent. Like the NFL is clearly, and there's going to be come Friday or maybe Monday. I forget when even the season starts. But
Thursday night, there's a couple of games.
Well, no, that's college. Not this. Yeah, no, I'm saying the NFL.
Oh, yeah, that's the next week.
A week from next Thursday, right? So I think that there's momentum you can play off of, like from certain game props and game plays. But yeah, I mean, we see runs like that. And then even in sports like the NBA or other types of basketball, runs happen, but they find a way to equate themselves. And that was just it. Look, Scott Frost, that was the one. I got in at 10. It closed, I think, like 13.5. So I was fine. I was beyond fine with that. But I enjoyed watching the day. Like I'm sitting there. Now, granted, I had Illinois and Vandy on a first half parlay. But I was soaking up everything on that Vanderbilt-Hawaii game, especially because Hawaii scored first. And while I'm sweating a ticket, I'm like, wait a second, I don't care. Sweating a ticket in baseball sucks because you have to watch the game. Right. Sweating a ticket in college doesn't matter.
Right. It's still an enjoyable thing to do.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel like work. Like watching a baseball game all the way through sometimes feels like work. You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
But
You're
at
right,
least
man.
Hawaii got the Little League World Series this weekend. They didn't get the college football game, but they got the Little League World Series.
Let me tell you, cleaned up on that. All right, I'm just going to give you I'll send you the screenshot of somewhere between. I got to define somewhere like 1,450, what have you. But Hawaii was laying 3.5. That's all they were laying was 3.5 against Curacao, and Hawaii is a juggernaut, an absolute juggernaut. I'm surprised that it was only 3.5. All right, I want to do a couple of things with you today here. Matt Cherico is our producer. We're going to bring him on at the end. He's got a couple of picks. He's fresh off of one of his other shows, so he's lined up with a bunch of picks. And maybe it was just things were inspired or not. We do have to tell you first and foremost, before we dive into anything, today's show, of course, and you can see below, RitasIce.com. The code word is Fizzy. Today's show is brought to you by Ritas.
Everybody! Go candy crazy with Rita's new Candy Kapow Ice. And new app users get a free ice when they download and use offer code SWEET. Stop by your local Rita's today and try it before it's gone. Offer expires September 4th.
Be cool, eat your Ritas.
All right, I sent you guys something ahead of time that is my spreadsheet, basically. And right. I don't want to I just want to tease this for a second. So we'll pull this up in a couple of minutes. But something is about to happen in the NFL. And it has nothing to do with the Eagles because that was a forgettable weekend. But I have a feeling, Harry, I got a feeling, right, that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be released and then sign a contract with the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh,
the San Francisco 49ers do not want to trade him to Seattle.
Right.
A in Division, B, they play him week 2. They're trying to hold off, but they're not going to get anything at all that's going to be worthy of the trade. I believe either it's going to be a last second, we're going to have to trade him anyway, or it's going to be a cut and then Garoppolo signs. Here's what I would say. If Jimmy Garoppolo signs up in Seattle and is the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, I think all bets are on in this case with Seattle. Jimmy right now, Harry, is 250-1 to win the MVP. If he starts 15 to 17 games for Seattle, that number is going to be less than 100,000 to 1. You know it. It's going to be down there. You can cut that value beyond in half. Pete Carroll to win Coach of the Year right now is 66-1. If Garoppolo signs and starts week 1, that would be cut below 3,000 by the 8th week of the season. What's their win total this year? 5.5? It's juiced to the over.
And I took under.
That. You took under.
I took under.
Garoppolo starts.
I would have to get out of that ticket.
Oh, you may have to cash out.
I'm going to have to cash out. That's what I was thinking, because that was a couple of weeks ago. I said under 5.5. Look what they've got at quarterback. They got Drek. But you're right.
Geno Smith.
Right. If they just release him and Seattle pounces, I mean, is there another team that you could see, maybe swooping in and getting him in addition to Seattle? I mean, would Cleveland just pick him up because their guy's out for 11 weeks?
I think Cleveland has been now, you can say what you want on this. It can be reading tea leaves. It can be simply, I don't believe anything until I see it, or just gamesmanship, if you will. But Cleveland has been way more vocal about supporting Jacoby Brissett than Seattle has been about either Geno Smith or Drew Lock. So that's one of the big differences is, yes, Cleveland, I think, is a viable destination. It makes sense. It's logical. But here this team is coming out. Like, you don't need to say that about a backup. Right. You could say that about Deshaun Watson, but you don't need to say that about Brissett.
That's fair.
So that's where I think it leans even more to Seattle. But look, you're right, where it's not a lock. But my goodness, if he goes there, what's Seattle to make the playoffs? Because I guarantee you're getting a good line. DraftKings probably has it, right?
Now, they're still in a tough division, though. I mean, let's not make it out like Jimmy Garoppolo is Johnny Unitas reincarnate here. But he would make a difference, maybe like 2 wins or something like that. But does it automatically make him a playoff team?
I think it does, in the sense of this. The Arizona Cardinals are without their top wide receiver for the first month of the season. Kyler Murray is under an immense amount of pressure that he and the team equally have put on each other. I don't know if Arizona, their record, especially against the spread, against the better teams, better defenses, when they're down in the first half, they're awful. I think Arizona is set to have a little bit of a step back. Look, San Francisco, I'm telling you this, man.
Wow.
If you just look in San Francisco, they have the worst, outside of Chicago, I think San Francisco has the worst offensive line quarterback combination in the NFL. Trey Lance hasn't proven a damn thing, and that offensive line is atrocious, Harry. So I think San Fran is going to be relying on a lot more. Look, you've got the Rams, and I get it. That's why I like Seattle to sneak in on a wild card.
Wow. Well, I tell you, if Arizona gets out to a slow start, that pressure you talk about is going to be building, and there'd be a lot of heads rolling if they don't make the playoffs this year, doing what they've done to that roster over the last, 2 seasons.
Harry, real quick. Seattle is 5-1 right now to make the playoffs. You're telling me that doesn't cut in half if Garoppolo signs?
5-1 to make it now. Yeah,
plus 500.
Okay, I could go to plus 300.
Easily. You're getting my whole point of this is whatever the number drops, if Garoppolo signs in Seattle or is traded in Seattle, which I think is a very strong chance of happening, you're getting ahead of Garoppolo MVP. You're getting ahead of Carroll Coach of the Year, the win total for Seattle, and to make the playoffs. Do they all hit? Probably not. No. But if they do, A, and B, I guarantee you that every single one of those, you're ahead of the value. Every single one of them.
Well, that would not be debatable.
Now let's look at this. You've got you want to save your baseball play. We'll do that at the end here.
Okay.
But I know you're all jacked up for college football, and you bring in your pick, and then this will open up because I have a couple of college plays that are still up here on my spreadsheet. But let's start with you first.
A lot of people might go out there and fade this immediately because they will use me as a biased better in this case. But I looked at the Temple football team's win total is 2.5, and it's juiced to the over at minus 140. But they have a schedule that includes Lafayette at home, UMass at home, which to me have to be wins. I mean, they're right
dreadful.
There's your 2. Okay.
You're right.
And then you look at, they start the season at Duke, which is no great shakes either. That's a winnable football game. They have Rutgers at home. They go to Navy, East Carolina at home, USF, and Tulsa. Those are all teams that I could see them having a chance to win. You mean to tell me they're not going to get one of those games and get to 3? I'm going over.
Here's the problem, Harry. And I don't hate you going over at all. I mean, you're laying 140 on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you better be damn well confident to lay 1.5 to win 1. And you are. And I don't think you're not like somebody who just flippantly, that's my team, so let me bet on them by any means.
They named Mathis the starting quarterback, but they also got this Quincy Patterson kid who was a transfer from both Virginia Tech and North Dakota State, who was a pretty good quarterback on running and throwing the football. So I think that position is going to be much better this year.
Well, that's key. And that's what duped me with Nebraska, was that they should have improved their quarterback play. Let me ask you this. And the answer may be yes. I'm not going to fight back on it. I'm just curious. Are they good enough so that you are no longer concerned about losing either of those first 2 games? Because if anybody out there is saying no right now, like I'm not confident that Temple is going to win both of those games, I would pass. I wouldn't play under, but I would pass. But if you're like Harry, which I believe you are, and you look at these 2, especially UMass, right, and you say, all right, because if they were to lose one of those 2 games,
well, then
that's
you're finished.
Really where
then you're finished.
Exactly.
Then it's a loser.
But if you're looking at them that way, right?
Yeah, I am looking at it that way. And maybe there is some bias in there for me because, UMass, I don't know a whole lot about them. They play an independent schedule. They, travel that team all over the country and get their tails kicked in for a check. But could they come up and, rise up and beat a Temple team? I know I did a UMass Temple game years ago up at Foxborough, and it came down to a blocked field goal, if I remember, that Temple ran in for a 2-point conversion to win the game. It was crazy. But I'm thinking they not easily, but they win those 2 games, and then they go grab one somewhere else, at least in the conference.
All right. Now, is that we have Wednesday, so we'll talk about Thursday's game in depth some more here. Matt, if you can just bring up the spreadsheet here so you can look at this. All right. So this is what I have now. This is week 1. There are a couple of week 2 plays that I wanted to get ahead of in the NFL. But as you see, I only have 3 college plays. So my Illinois and Vanderbilt first half, that hits. UConn plus 28, even though the starting quarterback goes down, and that seemed to be a sweat. So the only thing left is this 3-team teaser that I mentioned I have with Northwestern. So Northwestern hits, then it's Middle Tennessee and Purdue. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted to just show you, this is what I have. All right. This is everything that I've put in so far for week 1. And if there are 1 or 2 or 3 things, that jump out at you that you'd like to discuss, we'll update this. I'll update this as I add. I'll keep going. But, maybe there are people that are looking at, because I have like a teaser here. I already have a week 2 teaser. Wow. Right. So maybe people are looking at that. Jacksonville, Dallas. Right. This one here at the bottom, the 6+ teaser.
6+. Okay.
Right.
How about
week 2?
How about that? What is it? A 5 or 6 team teaser you have up there with Detroit, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, New England, and Jacksonville?
All right, let's look at this.
How about that?
I'm super happy that you brought this up here. There is a weird, wild stat about teams that, and by the way, that's the Lions plus 10.5, the Steelers plus 12, the Falcons plus 10.5, the New England Patriots plus 8.5, the Jaguars plus 10. So what's the first thing that should jump out to you and everybody else about that 5-team teaser?
Well, it's the Detroit Lions are playing the Eagles.
Well, that's number 1, correct for us. Right. But the second thing would be that everything is passed through on 6 points.
Oh. Everything
is passed through both 7 and 8.
And 8, yeah.
Yeah, 10 is ideal. Like 10. The only one that doesn't pass through 10 is the Patriots, where I don't think I need 8.5 points against Miami. With that said, there is this weird stat, Harry, all right, about Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and Jacksonville, or Pittsburgh and Atlanta specifically, about losing your starting quarterback to trade or retirement and being like 65 to 68% against the spread in week 1 the following year. So the Steelers and the Falcons stand a really good chance of covering their own spread as is. The Lions were a spread machine last year. I'm going to get to them in a second. I love the Patriots to win the game outright because Belichick's record against new head coaches without Tom Brady is like 9-1 against the spread.
Even though Miami gives them fits, though.
Yes, but Brian Flores is out.
Right,
remember.
Right.
So you have a brand new coaching staff, a guy who's never called plays before going up against Belichick. I bumped that to plus 8.5. My favorite play entirely in week 1 is Jacksonville beating Washington straight up. Nobody knows Wentz better than Doug P. Washington is 6-11 straight up at home under Ron Rivera. So I moved that to 10. All right.
They lost one of their running backs too this over the weekend. He got shot in a robbery attempt.
Oh shit! I missed that.
Yeah,
are you serious?
The kid from Alabama that they drafted in the 3rd round.
Are you serious? The rookie?
Yes. He got shot a couple of times in a robbery attempt and was in the hospital.
You've already got some issues as far as health concerns there as well.
Yeah.
All right, let me leave you with this one here on why I like Detroit to not only cover the 4.5, it's down, I get it, but also to cover that. Shane Steichen, right? Shane Steichen, 2019 to 20 went 9-15 straight up, 8-14-2 against the spread as the interim full-time offensive coordinator in San Diego. He's 8-14 against the spread versus teams of 500 and more, 3-8-1 against the spread versus former defensive head coaches who have turned head coaches.
Wow.
So Philly's going to play 7 games this year against defensive coordinators that will be now head coaches. Saints, Steelers, Titans, Bears, Texans, and Skins, or Washington, twice. Look, Detroit is another one. Keep that in mind. That's why, all right?
All right. Well, and in that teaser, you got him up to like, 10 points?
10.5, because initially when I built this, they were 4.5. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's a lot.
All right. Yeah, I'm just. We'll come back to this. All right, this could be a daily.
And
thing
I saw
until
in
we hit
there,
week
didn't
one.
you have Seattle in week 1 against Denver?
Outright.
Outright.
Yeah, I took them on the spread and I took them outright. Let me go to my little Bible here. I took them on the spread and I took them outright. Look, I think Pete Carroll. This is a situation here. Pete Carroll in the first 3 weeks, he knows a lot about Russell Wilson, and he's 15-4 against the spread in home games played in the first 3 weeks of September.
But do you like him to win the game?
Well, I'm pushing it. Why?
Wow.
Nathaniel Hackett has never called a play, but nobody on that staff has ever called a play before in their career. So this is coaching. I put so much emphasis week 1, Harry, on coaching in the NFL because that's really where you could lose a game. Week 2, week 3, week 4, they can figure it out.
All right. Seattle. You're high on Seattle. A lot of people are high in Seattle. You're high on Seattle.
I was both at one point. All right, let's do this. Matt, why don't you pop in with us here the final couple of minutes? Harry, you've got one as well. So, Matt, why don't you hit us with a couple? Harry will get out with his Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, I'm feeling real good tonight. So, my first pick of the night is a little bit of a ladder of the Yankees game. I'm expecting them to try and bounce back after a super lackluster end to that Oakland Athletics series. So going up tonight, I have them in the first 5 innings, I have them covering the spread of half a run. That comes in at -128. And then I have the full game as well on the run line. I just think that they get up and on them today. And I expect that offense to somewhat bounce back. They got Frankie Montas on the mound. And the Angels really don't have an offense that's blowing me away. I mean, they're starting Mike Ford in the 4-5 hole, who, I mean, really, to any other team standards, isn't an MLB player. I hate to say it, but he just isn't that guy. So I'm expecting them today to really get right against a team like LA. And being that it's in Los Angeles, it's warm weather, optimal hitting conditions. I really like the Yankees both in the first 5 run line and then the whole game.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all, man.
What a terrible franchise the Angels are.
It's
just a mess.
They outside of Trout and Ohtani, you're right, Matt. They don't have shit. I mean,
now the owner wants out. He wants to sell them.
They just paid so much money to Anthony Rendon, and he's been out the entire season, and he's old. So truthfully, I think that they missed their window of opportunity in the whole Trout and Ohtani, although it was quite small. They've only had Ohtani for so long. I think that they missed an opportunity to really capitalize on 2 kind of generational talents in those 2.
Yeah, I wonder what they do. They have to trade one of these 2 guys. I mean, they can't keep going, and that's why the owner wants out, right? You want to sell now while you still have commodity, as opposed to after you've traded Mike Trout for somebody you never know, and Ohtani, somebody who never pitches. So I don't blame the guy.
A big difference in baseball. I got tonight. I got the Twins going up against the Red Sox, and the Red Sox 3-7 in their last 10 games. They're throwing Brayan Bello on the mound tonight, who comes in with a 7.36 ERA with 14 earned runs in his last 5 starts.
Oh,
and
my God. Is that whip still above 2?
It is. So I can't imagine a scenario where the Twins don't get up and on him early as well. I mean, the Red Sox are a poverty franchise too, and being that they have the talent that they do, I can't believe they are as bad as they are. So tonight, I'm taking the Twins money line at -124. They got Dylan Bundy on the mound, who is their ace, essentially. I mean, he isn't fantastic, but I'm confident enough in him to where I think that they win this game tonight.
I like it.
Yeah, the Red Sox are awful.
I think both are strong targets there. Absolutely. All right, Harry, before you get out with your one play tonight for the Phillies, I am inspired because you're right. We should be targeting good opportunities here to make some money. So we'll build a 3-rung K ladder for Carlos Rodon, who takes on the Padres. And the Padres are still trying to find what's going on here, but there are some strikeouts in that lineup, some sneaky strikeouts in that lineup. Rodon's got a K rate north of 32%. He comes off back-to-back double-digit K games. One of those against Arizona, mind you, who does not strike out much at all. He is on fire. This guy could give up 3 runs in the first inning, but K10 throughout the game. So we'll do this on FanDuel. 8+ is +150, 9 is +290, and then a half a unit on 10+ at +540. So there's your 3-run K ladder for Carlos Rodon.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Harry?
I'm all sauced up on Ranger Suarez, man. I've been watching this guy pitch over the last month and a half, and he has just been lights out, man. He has had 30 strikeouts in his last 5 starts, including 8 strikeouts twice. I believe once was against the Reds, who strike out a lot, and the other was against the Pirates. But he also included a really good outing against those New York Mets that the Phillies actually won 2-1, and he went 7 full innings. I saw over 4.5 strikeouts here at -115. And I think I'm going to take a flyer on over 4.5 for Ranger Suarez.
I like
know
that.
Eytan doesn't like it so much, but
And that game against the Mets was in City Field too, right?
yes, it was. I believe it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
But there's some that's I just don't like going. It's not that I don't like Ranger Suarez. We've built K ladders with Suarez before here. I just didn't like the matchup against Arizona. It doesn't mean if I don't like it, I'm not going under. I'm not fading it. I personally would stay away because of Arizona. But here's the thing: Suarez has pitched well even against good hitting teams.
Yeah.
So I think this is not like, oh my God, Harry, where the hell did you pull that out of your rear? I think this is a solid bet. I'd like to have it a little bit better of a return. That's all. All right,
Yeah,
we're back Wednesday.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Wednesday. We'll be back.
No, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Hopefully that's not all you got for the week, because
No,
Harry's
no,
hosting on Wednesday.
I got to go get a Reedus.
All right. Got a candy
Devin will
cow.
be back with us a week from Wednesday. Harry, myself, Matt will be back on Wednesday, Friday. We'll get you ready for a huge Thursday night in college football and another week 1 officially, I guess, in college. More baseball, more NFL, more spreadsheet, more everything. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed here. And certainly head on over to Readers.